Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Australian CFO Summit, brought to you by Australia's leading spend management solution, Weel. I am really thrilled, very excited to have the CFO from Hipages, Jaco. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Adriana.
Absolute pleasure. I actually used Hipages on the weekend, so big fan. But
Great.
for those that aren't familiar, perhaps that are tuning in, could you give us a bit of an overview of what Hipages Group is?
Okay, sure. I would say in a nutshell, Hipages Group is the home of Australia and New Zealand's largest online trading marketplace, and basically connecting tradies with consumers, residential consumers, and commercial consumers through the platform, and then and that's across both Australia and New Zealand. So basically, the platform helps grow businesses, helps tradies grow their businesses, and that's by providing job leads. So they subscribe to the platform, they get access to job leads that consumers post, and it's really where homeowners and commercial consumers would find professional tradesmen and tradespersons, and also the platform really enables tradie businesses to optimize their businesses by filling in those gaps in somewhere where they don't have access to enough work, and where this platform really comes into play. So if you think of, to date, we have over 4 million Australians and New Zealanders that have used the Hipages Group to find new tradies, manage new tradies, and just getting access to trusted professionals to do the job. And basically, the platform gives work to roughly about 35,000 paying tradies.
Oh, wow. That's some huge numbers. And given that it's, I guess, a sort of two-sided marketplace, is that right?
It is.
Yeah.
So typically, a marketplace, and in our case, it's driven by the consumer side, the homeowners, as well as the tradies. And both of these two sort of need to be in balance to really make the marketplace operate in an optimal way.
And I guess following on from that, can you talk about how Hipages then drives revenue?
Sure. So the revenue model that we have is a subscription model. So basically what that means is tradies that wish to sign up to our platform, they sign up in either a 12 or 6 month subscription package. And this is really the backbone of our revenue model. So that gives them access to, depending on the tier that they're on. So we've got different sort of subscription packages and pricing tiers. That gives tradies access to a certain number of credits. And as the tradies accesses job leads on the platform, they then utilize the credits that they've purchased which is effectively on the monthly basis. And we also have a transactional component to that. So it's not just a subscription model, although it's by far the biggest component of our revenue model. But we also have a component where when they do run out of credits, we have an option almost like a pay-as-you-go in a way. We call that lead packs, where traders can purchase lead packs effectively in order to sort of tie them over before their next month credit starts kicking in. And that's predominantly the business in Hipages in Australia. We also have the business in New Zealand called Builderscrack. And so their model, it's interesting there, right? You're smiling there. Very apt. So they have a bit of a combination at the moment. So they make up about 4% of the total Hipages Group revenue. So it's still a relatively small business comparatively. But they have a combination of a subscription model, but also a success fee component. So basically, they take a cut on the value of the value of the job that they get to do. So it's really outcome based. But we are in the process of transitioning that business into a similar subscription business that we have done at Hipages.
And did you acquire Builderscrack?
Yes, so we acquired Builderscrack in December 2021, actually. So they've been a part of the business for quite a bit now.
Yeah, right. And I guess leading on from perhaps that acquisition, was that a primary sort of driver for growth, or do you have any other advice to
Yeah,
other listeners, that
yeah.
are.
So our business model, Hipages Australia, really operates within Australia. So it's very, very localized. And so by looking at the acquisition of Builderscrack, that really just gave us an opportunity to sort of expand our business reach outside of the borders of Australia and really so it's for us, it was really an expansion because the businesses operate so similarly. And very focused on the niche, the home improvement, home maintenance sector. So there was really, really good alignment between the two businesses. So that was for us a very natural fit to expand across borders through the acquisition.
Mm. Do you have any other advice, I guess, on supporting that, I guess, transition during like scale up or turnaround stages to enable that profitable growth?
Ooh, that's a tough question, right? So that it's so dependent on the typical business. How do you get to that? I think there's probably a couple of things that a couple of principles that any exec business should apply in going through those stages. And I think maybe, and I'll give some examples as to how we do it. But maybe if I had to look at it, how you go through that business, how do you get to a profitable growth? It's really about having a very clearly define your business goals and objectives, because that helps you get a sense of where you need to go, where you want to go. And it's really articulating what that mission purpose is of your business. And it's really critically reviewing your business, understanding your competitive advantage, really understanding how can you really scale this business, and also what is the scalability of this business. Then it's really sitting down and strategizing and establishing a really clear financial plan, making sure that you identify some really key milestones, KPIs, and also making sure that you've got dashboards so in order you can keep monitoring your progress. And very important is making sure you've got a clear organizational alignment. It's very important that you have the right people in the right roles, making sure you're nurturing that culture and really get the team people to sort of really drive into the same direction as the goal that you have set. It's also very important to make sure you understand what financial or other resources you actually need in order to execute on your strategy. Because if you've got a finite amount of resources and it's always that balancing act, especially in the business that are not necessarily yet profitable. And so resources is always the key challenge. And making sure there's the right businesses, systems in place to actually support the teams. And then very, very important, I think, and what we do at Hipages is really almost on a daily basis, rigorously looking at our metrics. So we've got these dashboards, we've got very, very clear metrics, and we diligently monitor that, review that, just comparing it to expectations, and if not, how do we course correct? So those things have to happen relatively quickly. I would say many people probably do these sorts of things monthly. I think the way, depending on probably on your stage of the business, but I recommend being on top of those key metrics and key drivers almost on a daily and weekly basis, so you can really course correct when you need to, and not let things go down a path where it's too late.
Do you have a few like core metrics that in Hipages that are the most important for you?
At Hipages Group, we've got quite a lot. If I had to show you our dashboard, you would probably run for the hills. So it's these. We've got this whole number of key metrics. I think we monitor probably, I would say, at least 20 key metrics a day. We look at things like jobs, we look at things like registrations, we look at things like claims, connections. The one thing that we've also recently introduced to the market is to try and explain what really drives our marketplace is the connections that are being made between tradies and consumers, homeowners. That really is something that's very important that we keep monitoring, because that's ultimately what drives value on both sides of the platform, being connected, because we promise the consumer that we will connect you to up to 3 tradies if you post a job. And on the tradie side, we need to make sure we connect you, we get the right jobs in, so we can make sure that you can get the opportunity to quote. and really see value out of our platform. So that's probably one of our key drivers. But I see there's also other things in terms of how do you drive profitable growth. It's introducing new product lines potentially. As an example, what we do and Hipages. So we are getting to the stage where we have reached that sort of a break-even point where we're generating cash. But it's almost like, okay, so we really benefited from this cycle where there's been significant tradie demand, where consumers are finding it harder, so jobs are becoming slightly less, so the value of the platform becomes really valuable. But then thinking ahead and saying, how do we really extend and continue driving that profitable growth in the future? And what we have as part of our strategy and evolution is not just being a lead generation platform, but really bringing an end-to-end tradie platform, where a workflow management system, like a SaaS platform, where you can accept leads, get jobs, manage jobs, invoice, quote, schedule jobs. It really becomes much more than just a lead generation platform. It becomes a real end-to-end solution for a tradie to run their businesses. That's how you're able to extract more value. You give more value, but you're also able to extract more value and to grow that profitable driver. And then also acquisitions, like we talked earlier, you can also acquire, assuming you've got enough cash in the bank or financial mechanisms at your disposal. There's also a way to acquire, but carefully acquire, making sure that when you acquire something, it's actually going to directly attribute profitable growth. And be careful to buy stuff just for the sake of expansion and not understanding the potential cash that one has to continue investing in those acquisitions, which is many times the case. So that's something I'll be very careful of, especially if you're in the earlier stages.
Any surprises in acquiring Builderscrack? BC. I've got to refer to it as BC from going on.
I think we did our due diligence as well. So the business is performing in line with our expectations. So it was that was a well executed acquisition for us. I have in the past, my earlier career, I have been in an environment where it was really about a land grab. That was probably in my sort of 2008 10-year period in that time, where I joined a startup, and we were funded by a investment fund, a Tiger Global, very large investment firm in New York, also some private equity investors in Israel. So we had quite a war chest to go out and acquire businesses to build up an e-commerce ecosystem within South Africa. So, and in that time, it was really about acquiring, land grabbing, and almost build it and they will come kind of a mindset. And some of those businesses did exceptionally well, and we did buy a few dogs. So it's not always a success. So you have to really do your homework. So if you're just going out to acquire, you're going to find a few rough diamonds out there, and you're going to find some really rubbish ones out there also. So it's always be very careful.
That's a nice segue into my next question, which was, can you tell me about your journey to become the CFO of Hipages Group?
Okay, so I'll give you a quick rundown, sort of my background. So I started at Deloitte. I became a chartered accountant at Deloitte. I was at Deloitte for roughly about 4 years in the audit and assurance risk in South Africa. I also got to spend almost a year at the Chicago office, so it was quite fun. Got to travel with Deloitte. But I always knew that I was not cut out to be an auditor. I always knew there was something else for me. And I had a very fortunate opportunity to join one of my clients of kind of 3 years when I was at Deloitte. And it was a large multinational computer components and peripheral distributor.
Really rolls off the tongue, that company's name.
And I got to join them as the group financial manager. So that was sort of my first role out of practice in a way. But there wasn't much I would say there wasn't a glass ceiling for me really. So I had a real clear runway. So I was very fortunate to be in a position where I could join this large corporate as the Group FM, and then within a year I was in the CFO seat, and so it was quite a fast track into corporate, running multinational business with the CEO. So it was quite great. I learned a lot. I got exposed to M&A, and I got exposed to financial structures, debtors, securitization, some really interesting things. So it was great fun.
I think your definition of what's interesting and my definition of what's interesting is like potentially a little bit different, but I don't.
Probably a typical accountant, a bit of a nerd, right? So, and then I had this interesting opportunity come my way where I was where I could join a startup. So from this big corporate, I was offered the opportunity to become a group CFO of a startup company. And that's where we had this, they were looking for somebody that had some M&A experience, that can do some financial structures, so it's and had internet experience. And in those days, internet was very shaky in South Africa, to be honest. I think we just came off dial-up. I don't know if you remember those days, but so 3G just came in. So internet businesses started flourishing and popping up all over the show. And that's where we had this group of investors coming in and wanting to invest. So I joined the business. I was employee number 14. And we started buying up businesses and building up this online marketplace. And the crown jewel in the group was really the eBay model. We built the eBay business in South Africa, which was very interesting. And I was there for about 2 years, and then I became the CEO of the marketplace. So while still being the group CFO of all these other businesses that we acquired, so I kind of had to wear two hats, which was a very interesting time in my life. And coming from a little fledgling 14 people business to growing quite a scalable business. So I think that was quite a very interesting time, learning a lot, learning about people, how to manage people, how to deal with failure. Because coming from a big corporate, I was used to having money for projects. Everything is nicely structured. You've got processes, you've got resources. There's always somebody else who knows more than you. Fantastic. In a startup, it's you, and you need to be everything. You're going to be the admin person, the CFO. You're going to be the CEO. You're going to be lots of stuff, and you try things and you fail. And I think that was really an interesting time in my life, where really being exposed to startup and growing this business, scaling up businesses, acquiring businesses, really making a meaningful business out of it. And that was about 10 years of my life. And then my family and I decided to emigrate. And I found myself in Australia. I joined an online education business as a temporary maternity replacement. So I kind of just, as I landed, I was fortunate enough to just sort of roll into a job. And I became permanent. So I became the CFO of the organization, and it was also a private equity held. It was held by Apollo Global, and our remit was really make sure the business is fixed up to make it ready for sale. So as I started, I got exposed to some really interesting activities, M&A. We sold the business and stayed on for a while, and then I thought it was time to sort of try something different. Because I've been in the private equity space, I've been in the startup space, I've been in the corporate. So I thought I was going to take a bit of a break and just see what's out there. And I came across Hipages Group, and I thought when I read the opportunity, I was like, this is so right up my alley. This is exactly what I am used to doing. Only problem is I don't have ASX experience. So how am I going to pull this off? And I was fortunate enough again to be invited for some interviews. I got to meet the team and Robbie and everybody else, and now I'm here. So so it's been quite an interesting journey. It's been a fantastic journey, and that's kind of.
You've done some amazing things, very interesting. What do you think the biggest, I guess, lesson that you've learned throughout your career?
Biggest lesson. The biggest thing that I've learned is really about coming from a corporate. having access to an abundance of resources and things, and stepping into an environment where you've got nothing, where you've got a short runway, you know you're going to run out of cash in X, having to deal with that. I think that really, I really learned that you can't do everything. So for instance, if we had this amazing product, we had this amazing vision, what we wanted to build. We want to build this massive thing, and having to say no to stuff, and knowing it's a fantastic idea, but I can't do it, or you shouldn't be doing it. Because initially, when I joined, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to get involved and wanted us to do everything, but I very quickly realized that it won't happen, because if we won't finish everything, actually we won't finish anything, because we'll be so entrenched in all the stuff we have to do. But having to ruthlessly just say no, and ruthlessly prioritizing as what we can actually execute on, and making that a success. I suppose that was probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned, that you just have to be laser focused when you're in that sort of environment. And
our CFO has been talking about that a lot. And it's not to say that what you say no to is a bad idea. It's just that doing that has an opportunity cost. So you got to make sure, is that your number one priority? And then do that, and then move on to the next thing, rather than kind of trying to juggle so many things.
Correct. And the thing is, maybe to add to that, sometimes you make a decision, you don't know if it's the right decision, because especially in the smaller environment, you don't have the playbook. You are creating that playbook as you go, and sometimes you fail, and it's okay. I say it's not a failure; it's just you learning, because next time you won't do that. And it's but if you're going down the wrong path, it's just making that call very early on. If you fail fast, get out, change course correct, and do something else.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Tough bit is that no one's sort of like on that journey saying, like, holding up a sign and saying, like, hey, you're doing the wrong thing. Like, sometimes you're still kind of like, yeah, this is going to work, this is fine. And inevitably
it's not getting emotionally attached to your decisions. I think that's probably the hardest thing for many people, is actually calling it, that's it, we have to stop, and we have to call quits. That's hard.
Do you have any advice for people that are looking to move up in their career, I guess, as a finance professional?
I suppose it depends on the type of person that you are. Do you like predictable sort of pathways into a CFO journey, or do you want to kind of go there by a roundabout way? So I'm probably more the one that's going about the roundabout way. So my advice, I really enjoyed having exposure to all sorts of businesses. In the services business, you go into a large corporate, you learn things in every type of business, even startups, scale-ups, private equity. As hard as that sometimes is to work in such environments, you learn a lot. And then that it really just shapes you. It helps you build up experience that you can use later on to draw from. It helps you better. I think what I've learned from that is being exposed to so many different environments. You also learn how to work with people in different environments. When things go really well, startups where things are very stressful sometimes, where it's like you might not make it until the business goes belly up, or it's almost like this tension. And then private equity is just really hard all the time. It's like, oh, more. I think that really, I would encourage anybody that really wants to move up in finance and really become a valuable strategic asset to the executive team as a CFO. Being able to be exposed to all these different types of environments, it just shapes you, and it really equips you to make better decisions, not be afraid to make decisions when there are sometimes you just don't know. It's just really helps, it shapes you, I think. Or at least that was that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you don't have the answer, and you're like, does my boss know the answer and just doesn't want to tell me? But the reality is you just got to accept the fact that actually it's just a tough decision to make, and that you don't have a really clear pathway. Jaco, it has been an absolute delight chatting with you this afternoon. I'm going to wrap it up. I'll let you get back to proofreading all your reports. I'm pretty good with financial documents, so if you need any help.
You're welcome to come over. I'm sure we can find you something to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much again, and I hope you have a great day.